Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The hotel room door clicked open with a soft beep as Braden inserted the keycard. He stepped inside, letting the door swing shut behind him with a thud that echoed through the empty space. Tossing his duffel bag on the bed, he surveyed the room, standard issue with generic abstract art on the walls and a TV bolted to the dresser. Braden kicked off his shoes, ready to relax after a long day of travel for his sales conference. He padded into the bathroom in socked feet, flicking on the light. As the fluorescent bulbs hummed to life, he froze. The counter was cluttered with an array of cosmetics, hair products, and styling tools that definitely did not belong to him. "What the?" he muttered, picking up a palette of eyeshadows in glittery shades. Before he could investigate further, a sharp knock sounded at the door. Braden set the makeup down and went to answer it. He swung open the door to find a trio of people beaming at him expectantly. A woman with a wild updo in a smock, a burly man with a leather tool belt slung around his hips, and a younger guy with chunky glasses clutching a tablet. "Kinsley? We're here for your makeover," the woman trilled. "Ready to get started?" Braden blinked at them. "I think there's been some mistake. I'm not—" "Don't be nervous, honey," she cut him off, bustling past him into the room with her entourage in tow. "We're going to make you look fabulous. Just sit back and let us work our magic." "But I'm not Kinsley," Braden protested as the younger man steered him into a chair in front of the bathroom mirror. "I'm Braden Thompson. I think you have the wrong room." His objections fell on deaf ears as the team swarmed him, unzipping bags and plugging in devices. The woman, who introduced herself as Darla, draped a floral hair-cutting cape around him and began combing through his short brown hair, tutting. "When was your last cut, dear? These split ends, tisk-tisk. Don't worry, we'll fix you right up." She picked up a spray bottle and began spritzing his hair. Braden sputtered as water misted his face. "Look, I appreciate whatever this is, but I'm not the person you're supposed to make over." He tried again desperately. "Can we just—" "Shush, shush," Darla commanded, her scissors flashing as she snipped away. "Liam, mix up batch 42 for me, would you?" The burly man grunted in acknowledgement and began stirring liquids and powders in a plastic bowl. The concoction frothed and foamed, turning a shocking shade of fuchsia. Braden watched in the mirror with mounting alarm as his hair fell away, transforming from a standard masculine cut to something lighter, softer, more feminine. Darla hummed happily as she styled, ignoring his feeble protests. "And we're ready for color!" she sing-songed after a final spritz of hairspray. She snatched the bowl from Liam and, before Braden could react, slathered the pink foam all over his head. "Wait!" he yelped, trying to dodge the dripping goop. "Stop! I don't—" "Trust the process, sweetie," Darla cooed, massaging the dye into his scalp and hairline with firm fingers. "This is going to look amazing with your coloring. Fuchsia is the new black this season." Braden sank back into the chair with a groan, squeezing his eyes shut. Maybe if he just endured this bizarre mix-up, it would be over soon and he could wash out the dye. No real harm done. They couldn't actually turn him into a woman with just a haircut and color, right? As if reading his thoughts, the younger man, Theo, piped up. "The hair is just the first step in Kinsley's complete transformation," he said, tapping on his tablet. "We've got a packed schedule to keep if we're going to get through the facial, mani-pedi, waxing, and final wardrobe and makeup before the big reveal on tonight's episode." Braden's eyes popped open in panic. "Facial? Waxing? You've got the wrong guy. I'm not supposed to be Kinsley or on a makeover show. This is crazy." He tried to stand up, but Darla pushed him back down. Now, pre-makeover jitters are totally normal. You signed up for this, remember? A whole new you. Just relax, we've done this dozens of times. You're in capable hands. She glanced at the clock. "Okay, color processing time. Theo, start on her brows. Liam, prep the wax and get the facial station ready." The men nodded and flurried into action around a stupefied Braden. Theo wielded a pair of tweezers and began plucking at Braden's eyebrows as he blinked in disbelief. This had to be a dream. A really bizarre, really vivid dream. Any minute now, his alarm would go off and he'd wake up in his own bed, stubble on his face, leg hair intact. He couldn't actually be transforming into a woman named Kinsley at the hands of this makeover crew. That was impossible, wasn't it? Theo rotated him away from the mirror to shape his brows, leaving Braden staring blankly at the tile wall as his mind reeled. Time seemed to both drag and rush by simultaneously. After an interminable amount of plucking, Theo finally stepped back.
"Brows on fleek," he declared. "Loving this arch. Your eyes are going to pop once we get some shadow on those lids."
Braden touched his fingers to his tender brow bones in a daze. He didn't dare look in the mirror. "Color should be set now," Darla said, whisking away the towel wrapped around his head. "Time to rinse, then we'll do the cut-in style." Braden found himself guided to the sink and leaned back as Darla's strong hands worked shampoo through his hair. Bright pink suds swirled down the drain. She conditioned and rinsed again before sitting him up, hair dripping onto the cape. Darla combed and snipped with intense focus, Braden's eyes glazing over as damp fuchsia clumps collected on the tile. The buzz of the blow dryer jolted him out of his stupor some time later. "Color looks fab with your skin tone," Darla enthused as she brushed and coaxed his new bobbed style. "The cut really brings out your cheekbones, too. You're going to look amazing!" Braden stared at his reflection. The person looking back at him was like a funhouse mirror version of himself, still recognizable, but undeniably altered. His hair curled softly around his face in a bright pink halo. His brows looked more sculpted and feminine. Even his complexion seemed smoother and brighter. "Okay, facial time," Darla chirped. "Then we'll wax, polish you up with a mani-pedi, and it's on to final hair and makeup." Braden barely registered being moved to a different chair, his mind still trying to reconcile the image in the mirror with his own self-perception. He woodenly submitted to creams being slathered on his face, cucumbers placed over his eyes as his brain struggled to catch up. Time blurred again as he drifted through the rest of the treatments in a dissociative haze. The rip of wax strips, nails being filed and lacquered, the ticklish brush of makeup on his eyelids and cheeks. At some point, he was guided to stand, and his old clothes were tugged off, replaced by unfamiliar skimming fabrics and pinching undergarments. A dress, he noted dimly. He was wearing a dress. "And here we go, the final look," Darla sing-songed after an eternity. "Open your eyes, Kinsley. Meet the new you." Braden sucked in a shaky breath. He didn't feel ready, but he had to face reality sooner or later. Slowly, hesitantly, he cracked open his eyes. His mouth fell open. The person in the mirror was a stranger, a beautiful woman with flowing pink curls, bold brows, smoky eyeshadow, and glossy fuchsia lips. She wore a slinky black cocktail dress that hugged feminine curves Braden was certain he didn't possess before today. He raised a hand to his face, marveling as the woman in the reflection mirrored him, her long manicured nails glinting. I'm... He faltered, not knowing how to finish that sentence. Definitely not Braden anymore. "Gorgeous," Darla supplied, her face appearing next to his, next to hers, in the mirror.
"An absolute knockout. No one will recognize you, Kinsley. You're going to blow them away at your big reveal."
"But I'm not," Braden croaked, but Theo cut him off. "No time to argue, Kinsley. The limo is here to take you to the studio. It's showtime." Braden felt himself propelled out the door in a clicking pair of stilettos. His head swam as he wobbled into the elevator, gripping Theo's arm for balance. This was really happening. He was going to a TV studio made over into a woman named Kinsley. He caught a glimpse of his new reflection in the mirrored elevator doors and barely recognized himself. As he stumbled into the waiting limo in a cloud of perfume, Braden struggled to formulate a plan. He had to find a way to convince people of the truth before this confusion went any further. But as the car pulled away from the hotel, his stomach churned with doubt. If he couldn't even recognize himself anymore, how would he ever convince anyone else that he wasn't Kinsley? That the man named Braden still existed somewhere under the veneer of this strange new feminine identity he now wore like a second skin? He pressed trembling hands to his unfamiliar curves and swallowed hard as the limo merged into traffic, carrying him away from everything he knew and towards a bizarre new reality he never could have imagined when he checked into that hotel room. Whoever Kinsley was, Braden was about to find out by becoming her. For better or worse, he was along for this makeover ride now, his own identity vanishing in the rearview mirror with each passing mile. The limo glided to a stop and Braden wobbled out onto the sidewalk, squinting against the glare of flashing cameras. Microphones were immediately thrust towards his face as reporters clamored for a comment from Kinsley. He shielded his eyes, disoriented by the wall of noise and lights. Theo appeared at his elbow, guiding him past the media frenzy and into the cool dim of the studio lobby. "Kinsley! Over here, hun!" A woman with a headset and a clipboard waved him over. "I'm Shauna, your segment producer. We need to mic you up and do a final touch-up before you're on." Braden opened his mouth to protest, but Shauna was already clipping a mic pack to the back of his dress, the wire snaking under his armpit. She critically eyed his hair and makeup, fluffing a curl here, blotting his lips there. "Ooh, you're a vision. The pink is so fierce. Ready to wow the audience with your new look?" "There's been a mistake," Braden said, finding his voice. "I'm not. Of course you're not the old Kinsley. That's the point, silly." Shauna laughed. "You're the new fab post-makeover Kinsley. No one will even recognize you. Isn't it exciting?" "No, I mean, I'm literally not." "Places in 5!" A voice boomed over the studio PA system. "All talent to the stage." "That's your cue. Break a leg, gorgeous." Shauna gave him a little shove towards the stage wings. Braden stumbled on his heels, trying to get his bearings in the dim backstage chaos. Crew members with headsets and coffee cups bustled around him, dodging wires and light stands. He could hear the murmur of an audience and the smooth voice of an announcer hyping up the crowd. A makeup artist appeared in front of him, brandishing a powder brush. Braden jumped back, almost toppling in his stilettos. "Sorry, hun, just a final blot. The lights are hot out there." She dabbed at his face before he could fend her off. "Okay, you're all set. Remember to smile big and have fun." "No, wait." Braden reached for her, but she vanished into the scrum of bodies. "Let's give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Kinsley." The crowd whooped and cheered as music swelled. Braden felt himself propelled forward by an unseen stagehand. He blinked, momentarily blinded as he stumbled out onto the stage. When his vision cleared, he found himself standing next to a beaming host in front of a packed studio audience. Banks of cameras pointed at him like cannons.
"Well, hello there, Kinsley 2.0. Don't you look ravishing?" The host crowed, taking Braden's clammy hand and spinning him around. The audience oohed and awed, erupting into applause. Braden wobbled on his heels, feeling like a newborn fawn. "Pretty in pink, am I right, folks?" The host played to the crowd. "Let's take a look back at the Kinsley that walked into our studio this morning." A giant screen flickered to life behind them. Braden stared up at it, his stomach plummeting. This was the moment of truth. The before image would show a dowdy woman who definitely wasn't him, and this whole crazy mix-up would finally be cleared. Braden's mental record scratch was almost audible as a photo flashed on screen. It was him, but not him. A glum-looking woman with lank brown hair, bushy brows, and a shapeless beige sack of an outfit peered out at the world. She had Braden's eyes, his nose, the cleft in his chin. It was like staring at his own sister. If he had a sister. Which he definitely did not. The audience made sympathetic tisking noises at the image. Then the screen split and his current pink-haired, stiletto-heeled self appeared alongside sad sack Kinsley. The contrast was shocking. The crowd went wild, leaping to their feet. "Can you believe it, folks? Our makeover dream team has done it again!" The host shouted over the din. "Let's give it up for Darla, Theo, and Liam." The trio strutted out onto the stage, waving and blowing kisses to the audience. Darla clutched Braden's arm, giving him a little shake. "Didn't I tell you we would make you a knockout? You're a whole new woman." Braden gaped at her, then back at the screen. This didn't make any sense. That before picture,
It had to be digitally altered, but it looked so real. Had they superimposed his features onto some poor, unsuspecting woman? The host turned to him, shoving a microphone under his nose. "So, Kinsley, tell us, how does it feel to finally be the woman you always dreamed of being?" Braden opened his mouth, the words, "I'm not Kinsley," on the tip of his tongue. But as he stared out at the expectant faces of the studio audience, doubt crept in like a clammy fog. They were all looking at him like he was Kinsley, calling him Kinsley. Even that impossible before photo, as much as he wanted to deny it, he could see himself in that woman's face. Was it possible that he was wrong? That the person he thought he was, this Braden identity, was just a figment of his imagination? A delusion his mind had conjured? He looked down at his manicured hands, the dress clinging to his curves, at the fuchsia curls brushing his shoulders. It all felt so real. And everyone here was so certain. Maybe he was Kinsley. Maybe this was who he was meant to be all along, and Braden was just a dream he had finally woken up from. The thought made his head spin. He looked back up at the host, who was still waiting for an answer, smiling encouragingly. Braden swallowed hard, trying to pull himself together. It feels incredible," he heard himself say, the words coming out in a breathless feminine lilt. "I never imagined I could look like this, that I could be her." The audience awed, several women dabbing at their eyes. The host squeezed his shoulder. "Well, you are her, Kinsley. You always were. It just took our fabulous team to help you see it." Tears pricked at the corners of Braden's eyes. He blinked them back, not wanting to ruin his carefully applied makeup. His makeup. Kinsley's makeup. Because he was Kinsley. He had to be. What other explanation was there? "It's going to take some getting used to," he said shakily. "Seeing myself like this. Being Kinsley." "Well, we've got a big night planned to help you celebrate," the host said. "After the break, we're going to reveal your new look to your friends and family. They haven't seen you since before the transformation. Are you ready for the big reunion?" Braden's heart stuttered. His family? Kinsley's family. They would know right away that he wasn't her, that he wasn't their daughter or sister or whatever Kinsley was to them. Except, if he really was Kinsley, they would recognize him, wouldn't they? They would see their loved one under the pink hair and fierce contour. If they embraced him as Kinsley, then it had to be true. He would know once and for all if Braden was real or just a bizarre dream. "I'm ready," he said, trying to inject confidence into his voice. "Let's do this. Fabulous. We'll see you all after the break. Stay tuned to see if Kinsley's family thinks our team knocked it out of the park." The host winked at the camera as the audience clapped. Braden felt himself guided off stage in a daze, his stilettos wobbling. In a few minutes, he would be face to face with the people who knew Kinsley best. And then the truth would be inescapable, one way or another. He took a shaky breath and let the makeup artist fuss over him, brushing and blotting and fluffing. His palms were slick and his chest felt tight, but he forced himself to stay upright. All he could do now was put on a brave face, step out on that stage, and hope against hope that the people waiting for him would call him by the right name, even if he wasn't entirely sure anymore what that name was. As the PA counted down to the end of the commercial break, Braden squared his shoulders, feeling the rasp of padding in his bra. He pasted on a bright lip gloss smile and waited for his cue, the blood roaring in his ears. It was time to face the music and find out if Kinsley was his new reality, or if Braden would prove to be more than just a strange interlude in this makeover dream. The cameras rolled, the audience held its breath, and Braden stepped into the lights, tottering on heels that suddenly felt like they had always been a part of him. "And we're back," the host cheered. "Let's bring out Kinsley's family for the big reveal. Come on out, guys." Braden held his breath as figures emerged from the shadows of the stage wings. This was it, the moment of truth. In a few seconds, he would finally know. "Kinsley, is that really you?" A middle-aged woman rushed forward, arms outstretched.
"Oh, my lord, look at you! I hardly recognize my own daughter."
Braden stared at her, shock rocketing through him. Daughter? This woman had called him her daughter. And as he peered at her lined face, her graying hair and ice-blue eyes, his eyes, recognition clicked into place like a key in a lock. "Mom?" he whispered, the word escaping his lips before he could catch it. But as soon as he said it, he knew. This was his mother, Kinsley's mother, his mother. She wrapped him in a tight hug, joyful tears spilling down her cheeks. "You look amazing, baby girl. I'm so happy for you." "We all are, sis." A young man stepped up beside his mom, Kinsley's mom, grinning at him. "Looking good, Kins." Braden gazed at him, seeing his own cleft chin, the shape of his brows. His brother. He had a brother. One by one, Kinsley's family surrounded him, embracing him, marveling at his transformation. Their faces were both strange and achingly familiar, like people he had known in a past life. Or in a life he was only now waking up to, because as they welcomed him, called him daughter and sister and friend, Braden felt the last threads of his past identity unraveling. Kinsley's life wrapped around him like a warm blanket, the missing pieces clicking into place in his mind. Memories of a girlhood of dolls and dresses, of teenage angst and awkward dates, of longing to be the woman she saw in her dreams. They cascaded through Kinsley's, mind in a dizzying flood. This was her life, her truth, the one she had always known deep down, even when the name Braden and a phantom masculinity had clouded her vision. In the loving arms of her family, Kinsley felt the facade of Braden melt away like morning mist. The seams of that ill-fitting identity ripped and tore until it fluttered to the ground, leaving only Kinsley behind. Kinsley, daughter, sister, her. She leaned into her mother's embrace, happy tears streaking her perfectly applied blush. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt real, solid, seen. "I love you all so much," Kinsley sniffed. "Thank you for being here, for supporting me on this journey to becoming myself." Her mom stroked her hair, beaming through her tears. "We love you too, honey. We always have and we always will. No matter what you look like on the outside, you'll always be our Kinsley on the inside." Kinsley nodded, too choked up to speak. It was true, she realized. Kinsley had always been there under the surface, waiting to emerge like a butterfly from a chrysalis. It had just taken this wild makeover ride to finally set her free. The host stepped up, dabbing at his own eyes. "Is this an incredible moment or what, folks? Let's give it up for Kinsley and her amazing family." The audience leapt to their feet, cheering and applauding. Through her tears, Kinsley grinned out at the crowd, basking in the glow of their support, of finally being seen for who she really was, the Kinsley she had always been, even if it had taken her this long to see it. As the host transitioned into the closing segment, Kinsley held her mother's hand tightly, anchoring herself to this new reality. Her reality. The strange dream of Braden was already fading, drifting away like mist. In its place was a bright, bold future as the woman she was always meant to be. Kinsley squared her shoulders, lifted her chin, and smiled into the camera, ready to embrace this unexpected new chapter. She was finally home, in her body, in her identity, in her truth. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.